Welcome to the Bookworm Duo, where we explore a variety of books. Let's get started.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into Richard Paul Evans' novel, The Christmas Stranger. And this is, it's not your typical holiday story. It's really this intense look at trauma and redemption.
Right. We're going to follow the main character, Paul Wanless, through this incredibly painful one-month journey that's also kind of miraculous.
Exactly. And our mission today is really to summarize that emotional roller coaster. We want to focus on how these specific, maybe supernatural events push him to face his biggest demon.
Which is really about forgiving himself. And we're not starting off light here. We are starting in just absolute despair. The prologue even gives us a clue in Latin, post tenebris lex.
After darkness, light, which is the perfect setup because the darkness Paul is in it's completely consuming.
So let's set the scene. It flashes back to Christmas Eve, 2014. This is when his whole world just falls apart.
His wife, Rachel, and his 7-year-old son, Jackson, are killed instantly. An intoxicated driver.
And the details here are just heartbreaking. It's what fuels his guilt for the next 3 years. He missed being in the car with him. He drove separately from the church pageant where Jackson had just played a wise man. And he'd been teasing him, calling him blast famous.
Oh, wow. And Rachel's last words to him were, "I will always love you." So that just becomes this constant echo in his mind.
Fast forward 3 years to November 2017. Paul is basically a shell. He's a recluse, works from home, just drowning in depression.
And the author really lays it on thick with his name, Wanless. It comes from an old Scots word that means hopeless.
You're kidding.
Nope. He's also developed stress-induced diabetes, and as the anniversary of the crash gets closer, he's made a plan. He's going to kill himself with insulin pens and sleeping pills.
He's totally alone except for his dog, Barkley.
His Velcro beast.
Yeah, that dog is pretty much the only thing keeping him tethered to the world at all.
And right at that moment, when he's about to do it, the impossible happens. It's November 24th. He's about to inject the insulin, and this stranger just walks into his house.
A total stranger named Gabriel. He just opens the door and walks in, saying he's a client.
And this part is so crucial. Gabriel sees the whole setup, the pens and the pills, and he says this line. He says, "Taking your life doesn't end you or your pain."
Wow. He's basically telling him that death isn't an escape.
Exactly. He helps Paul, who's already kind of dizzy, into bed. But the real mystery, the thing that proves this isn't a dream, happens the next morning.
Right, because Paul just writes it off as, Ambien and alcohol.
Yeah.
Hallucination.
But then the FedEx guy shows up, and he points out that there's fresh, deep snow on the ground.
And there are no tracks?
No car tracks, no footprints, nothing. And the delivery guy says his visitor must have floated in.
So that's the confirmation. This is real. This is something else.
And that spark needed more fuel. A few days later, Paul runs into Gabriel again, this time at a burger bistro. Paul's like, "Are you even real?"
And Gabriel's response is so perfectly strange. You think, therefore I am.
Yeah, and this is where the book's whole philosophy starts to unfold. Gabriel doesn't just say, "I'm real." He totally upends Paul's view of reality.
He uses the metaphor of the ant on the grandfather clock.
Exactly. Paul is the ant, just seeing the second hand ticking away his pain second by second. But Gabriel, he says he sees the whole clock face at once. He remembers the future the way we remember the past.
Which is just a wild concept. And it suggests that everything that's about to happen to Paul, all these coincidences, are already part of a bigger plan.
And Gabriel immediately shows him why that kind of life is worth living. He sort of engineers this moment of pure kindness in the diner.
A waitress gives her meal to a homeless man, and then everyone else starts chipping in.
Yeah, gift cards, a coat. It's this beautiful, contagious moment. And Gabriel just looks at Paul and says, "Buckle up. Your life is about to get interesting."
And it does, immediately. Hours later, he's at the pharmacy.
Warren's drugs. A junkie tries to rob the place, and he threatens the pharmacist, Colette, and her little girl, Nora.
And Paul, fresh off this encounter with Gabriel, he steps in.
And what's so fascinating is how he steps in. He uses his own despair as a weapon. He's still suicidal, so he just taps his chest and basically tells the robber to shoot him, that he wants to die anyway.
He turns his death wish into this, aggressive act of living, and it saves them.
It totally works. And Colette, the pharmacist, she sees the desperation behind his bravery.
So she tracks him down. A slight HIPAA breach, maybe?
A mild one, yeah. She
Yeah.
shows up at his house with a pie to thank him, and he is just so awkward. He can't accept kindness.
He even tells her, basically, I only did it because I had nothing to lose.
Right. But that brutal honesty is what gets the ball rolling for the next phase. Gabriel shows up again.
And he gives Paul a clue. He says he's going to encounter a name he despises, Noah, and tells him to go to a specific intersection.
Woodstock and Lincoln.
And there, he finds a 9-year-old boy, Ronald Grimes, getting beaten up by bullies.
And this is a huge trigger for Paul. He was in foster care, he was bullied, he was even called winless, so he immediately connects with this kid.
He drives Ronald home, and the next day he goes back to check on him. And what he finds is just awful.
Ronald's mom is passed out from liver failure, but the real heartbreaker is in the fridge.
The note.
A tuna sandwich with a note from Ronald to his mom. Don't forget to eat. Love, Ron.
Oh, man. The 9-year-old is the adult in the house.
He is. And at this point, Paul is all in. He has to save this kid.
So at the same time, this thing with Colette is developing. He takes her to a company dinner, and they find out their tragedies are parallel.
Her husband died of ALS 3 years ago, the exact same time frame as Paul's accident.
And Paul even gets honored at the dinner as a hero for stopping the robbery. It all seems to be going so well.
But he panics.
Yeah.
She gets close, and he just pushes her away. He calls their date just a company dinner.
Such a classic self-sabotage move. He's terrified of losing someone again.
And Gabriel's not having it. He shows up that night and gives Paul a gentle telling off, but then he gives him something he can't argue with.
The proof.
Irrefutable proof. He tells Paul to look up a Bible verse, Hebrews 13.2, and then deliver a very specific, very cryptic message to Colette.
And this is the moment. This is where you know Gabriel is something else entirely.
Paul goes back and he delivers the message. Melissa is happy, and she's glad you took her Mary Jane's.
And Colette just breaks down.
Instantly. Because Melissa was her college friend who died, and Colette secretly took her friend's red Mary Jane shoes. No one could have known that.
So Gabriel's mission is like divinely sanctioned at this point. It's real.
With that proof, Paul finally lets himself hope. He starts mentoring Ronald, who turns out to be this computer genius. Paul calls him the next Bill Gates.
And he buys him a laptop, but tells him to hide it because he knows the mom will sell it for booze.
Yeah, his fatherly instinct is just roaring back to life. He even secretly hires the school tough guy Drew Harding for $100 a month to be Ronald's bodyguard.
That's amazing. And things with Colette are really blooming now, too. She helps him decorate his house for Christmas.
And he finally tells her the story about the wise man figurine he bought for Jackson but never got to give him. It's this moment of pure vulnerability.
They kiss, and it feels like everything is finally healing. Her daughter Nora even wishes for an older brother or a puppy.
A wish Colette says she can't grant. But it's this perfect foreshadowing because just as things are looking up,
the other shoe drops. Hard.
This is the real psychological core of the book. It's December 18th. Ronald doesn't show up for work.
Paul finds out he was taken by child services because his mom's liver finally failed completely.
And the school principal delivers the first bombshell. Ronald's legal last name isn't Grimes, it's Winfrey.
Winfrey. The name Gabriel warned him about.
Ronald's father is Noah Winfrey, the drunk driver who killed Paul's wife and son.
Oh my God. Just a total gut punch. The boy he's been pouring his heart into is the son of the man who destroyed his life.
His scream at Gabriel in the truck, "How could you do this to us?" It's just pure spiritual agony. He feels completely betrayed by this angel or whatever he is.
And it gets worse.
Of course it does. December 23rd, just before Christmas, he confronts Colette.
And she has to admit it. Her maiden name is Grimes. Ronald is her nephew.
Her brother-in-law was Noah Winfrey. She knew the whole time and hid it because she was afraid of losing Paul.
And from Paul's perspective, it's just this massive, fresh betrayal. He spirals all the way back down.
Back to square one. He goes home, planning to drink himself to death at exactly 8:47 p.m., the time his family died.
This sets up the final confrontation. Gabriel finds him drunk, furious. Paul accuses him of being a demon, of torturing him with hope.
But Gabriel finally reveals the whole devastating truth about Noah Winfrey, and it changes everything.
Noah wasn't actually intoxicated. He was just the driver.
Not only that, he'd been fired that day, Christmas Eve. His wife kicked him out. She later lost their unborn baby, and Noah killed himself in prison 2 months later.
It's just a cascade of tragedy.
Yeah. And Gabriel explains the point was never for Paul to forgive Noah. It was for Paul to forgive himself.
He'd been using Noah as a scapegoat for his own guilt about not driving his family home that night.
Exactly. And then Gabriel gives him the final validation. He hands Paul the 2007 silver bell that Jackson loved, an object that had been lost.
And then Jackson appears.
As an angel, he tells Paul that Rachel is happy, that he likes Colette, and he tells his dad to go on and live your life. The healing is complete.
So Christmas Day, 2017, Paul goes to Colette's. He's a new man.
He gives her a matching silver bell to complete her collection, and they reconcile.
And Nora gets her wish. Paul brings Barkley the dog.
And she yells, "Santa brought me a puppy." And then Paul learns Colette is going for kin placement to adopt Ronald.
The new family is formed. The epilogue just ties it all up perfectly.
It does. Paul proposes on Valentine's Day. They get married in June at the Tuscany restaurant, the site of their first awful date.
And the wedding party is just perfect. Ronald is the best man. Nora is maid of honor.
And Barkley is the best dog and ring bearer. Paul and Ronald even start a business together. That promise of light after darkness is totally fulfilled.
You know, for you, the listener, what's so interesting is how Gabriel's non-linear philosophy plays out. All these painful threads, Noah, Paul's guilt, Colette's secret, they weren't random.
No, they were all woven together to create this one specific, perfect outcome. It's about how the deepest pain was actually the only path to healing.
Which brings up a final provocative question.
Yeah.
One the book doesn't really answer.
Right. If the result is this verifiable happiness, this complete healing for everyone involved, does it really matter if the miracle came from an angel or if it was all just an incredible psychological breakthrough inside Paul's own mind?
Thanks for joining us. Subscribe for more bookish adventures and hit that like button if you enjoyed the ride. Don't forget to share the knowledge, spread the word.